providers of Minnesota's The Inside Scoop with your advocacy team, Toby Pearson, Aaron Bowie, and Todd Bergstrom. This week's host, Toby Pearson.
Welcome to today's Inside Scoop. Today is Friday, March 3rd, 2017. We're going to start with an update on the national level. As you know, there have been discussions about repealing the ACA, otherwise known as Obamacare, and the implications for Medicaid funding. They are combining those two topics into one big ball of fun. And we have been told to anticipate that they will be voting in Congress next week. So if you've not contacted your congressperson or senator yet, you should do so soon, because the preliminary reports, although nobody has actually seen the bill to our knowledge other than a few folks out in Washington, the leaked reports seem to indicate that there will be approximately a $1.3 billion cut to the Minnesota budget in next biennium, and in about 4 or 5 years it'll be about a $5 billion cut, with an anticipated total of about 13% of our Medicaid budget disappearing. In case you don't know, Medicaid funds a lot of long-term care services and support, so cuts to those programs will be difficult. Now there are some built-in categories trying to minimize the cuts to long-term care, but it is still a challenge that we need to address your Congress and Senator. On the state level this week, we will switch gears quickly. We were told that the new budget forecast says that there will be a quote-unquote surplus for the state of Minnesota again this year. However, if you look more closely and you factor in inflation, it in fact says that the surplus is really not that big, and in the out years we actually have a deficit. So, party as long as you don't want to look at the inflation, I guess is the message. But it is good news in that we don't have a deficit. Also, technically, the state has to balance to that forecast. So any changes made in the federal programs would not necessarily have to be reflected in the budget that they are crafting currently. That will hopefully be done at the end of May, when session is hopefully done. What's going on for our issues? Well, we had a great number of hearings this week. We had the House heard our elderly waiver reform bill, our value-based reimbursement 2.0 for nursing facilities bill, workforce integration, or innovation rather, and loan forgiveness bills. All have met the deadlines on the House side and are moving along as well on the Senate side, where the Senate Aging heard this week our workforce bills. So things are moving along well. This past week we were very busy, but things are going well. Next week, the Senate Finance and Reform will start to hear more of our bills, including the EW reform bill, and the House will move our bills over to the Finance, which means they will have met the final deadline for the Finance side, or the House side of things, including our value-based reimbursement, elderly waiver, loan forgiveness, and innovation grant, as well as the changes to the SNSA. So we are busy testifying. You can read my action article, which will tell you all about the fabulous testimony we gave this week in the House and the Senate. So I will leave you with 3 things to do. Number 1, call Congress. Tell them not to cut Medicaid. Those monies provide long-term care services and supports. It's important to support those people who provide the services. Number 2, call your local Senate and House member. Tell them to support our elderly waiver reform bill as it moves forward. We need innovation and reform in elderly waiver, and our bill does both. Number 3, Lobby Day. Be there March 22nd. We will have updates on all our legislation. We will have visits for you to schedule with your legislators and representatives. And you get to tour the beautiful, newly remodeled Capitol, which, if you haven't seen it since you were in high school, is pretty spectacular. So sign up for Lobby Day, March 22nd. And that is today's Inside Scoop.